Nick Benjamin and Andy Waterfield.
We're on our travels again. That's a tram. It could be anywhere. Could we be in Dublin,
Croydon,
Amsterdam, or Sheffield?
Sheffield. Very good.
Sometimes Sheffield gets a bit of a dodgy reputation, but it's lovely, isn't it?
It is. It's very good. I've not been here for many years, actually, but it seems to have smartened itself up. It's like many of the cities that we visit these days, places that used to have a bit of a reputation for not being the nicest place to visit, seems to have smartened their act up.
Here we are in front of the cathedral. Now, this is a
We've been doing some reading up on this.
Yeah, Gothic modernist cathedral, built 13th century with bits added on right up until 1966. It is quite obvious when you see it which bit
you work out which bit's the add-on.
But the original bit, it's quite imposing, Gothic, sort of feel like I'm in a Hammer horror film.
Yeah, you'll get scared in them.
Yeah, I quite like cathedral buildings. They're quite impressive, aren't they?
Yeah, you don't go into them though because you're It's not your thing, is it?
No. We also have, just next door to it, a vegetarian cafe, restaurant. Would you use the word restaurant?
It's called the Blue Moon Cafe. Apparently it's the oldest vegetarian cafe in Sheffield, and we're going to try that out tomorrow, actually, aren't we?
Interesting things coming through the town. There's an old police box. Sheffield used to have police boxes. There's one remaining example which we found earlier on, and unlike the TARDIS, it's green. It's not the same design, but it looks very similar. It's obvious it's a proper police box.
It's not in use, though, anymore, is it?
No. But if you've seen the ones in Glasgow and the ones in Edinburgh, it looks like the ones in Edinburgh more than anything else.
So what's the idea? In the old days, if you had an incident, would you go and telephone from that box?
Yeah, when people didn't have telephones, you could use that, or
would it be people sitting in them or something?
Police officers could station themselves in it, make a cup of tea, shelter from the rain, and they also apparently used to use it to put criminals that they had apprehended as a holding cell while transport turned up. And also it was a way of stations contacting officers on the beat, because the light would flash and that means the phone was ringing.
Really?
And that's what the whole thing is. But now officers on the beat are sort of a thing of the past, isn't it?
Now, one of the things we've also seen in the square here, we're in Cathedral Square by the tram stop in the middle of Sheffield, a really old post box.
Yes. Which is clearly being done up.
She's going
to use it.
See, I've got a funny thing about letterboxes, because I think you put the post in and it gets shredded or something. I've got no evidence of that at all, but she's obviously very trusting of it.
Well, it does have the smallest aperture I've ever seen, doesn't it?
What would you have to put a parcel in there? It wouldn't fit that, large parcel range.
No, that reminds me of that incident not so long ago when someone had a record delivered to them and the post person didn't realise what it was, and so bent the packet in half to get it through the letterbox, thus breaking the record. It's one of those things. It's very easily done, I suppose, because records have come back in fashion. There's a lot of record stores around here as well. It's really, really rather. It's also made better by the fact that this morning it's a nice day.
So we're in Sheffield today, and one of the things that's surprised me completely is I'm a bit of a canal boat freak and love anything to do with the canals. And did you know, I didn't know that Sheffield had a canal.
I can't believe this.
We came down through what can only be described as an area ripe for development. It was the old markets area, and it's all boarded up, and it looks as though it's about to be developed. But we've come to something called Victoria Quay, and it's not really highlighted anywhere on the map. It was just a hunch. Looking at a map, I saw a little bit of water, and here we are in a canal basin.
We're in moments away from the city centre. Just listen.
Silence.
I can't believe
it's lovely, isn't it? So yeah, this is called Victoria Quays, and I think it's had some development work done to it, but quite tastefully. There's some old wharf buildings that they seem to have made into apartments and accommodation.
The tram comes right through here. I had no idea. Up on high.
Exactly. Yeah.
But looks like permanent moorings as well. Look, Or are these visitor moorings, do you think? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It looks like it's a private marine.
Oh, yeah, they've got plug-in power.
So they've got plug-in power, which is always good.
Under this stone
snaky arches.
It's arches, almost like an old railway bridge. It might be an old railway bridge, I don't know, but there's businesses put under the arches, which are really, really nicely done as well.
We're going to have to do a bit of reading up about this, because this is one of those true surprises, isn't it? You've turned a corner and you've actually seen something you weren't expecting.
There's a narrowboat that you can not chug along on a trip, but just stay there's a hotel moored up. That looks like good fun.
Would you like the idea of that? Because we've been on a few narrowboat holidays.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work involved, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
So just sitting back and letting someone else do it.
Well, you don't really have to on that one. It's just a hotel, isn't it? It's quite nice.
It's really good, isn't
And
it?
there's a load of boats here. I had no idea.
No, I'm quite surprised. We really will have to read up about it and present our information.
I really can't believe it.
It's really
It's
nice.
so
This
quiet.
is a little dry dock here.
So, do we know where this canal goes?
No, to be very honest about it.
Well, there's research
No,
on
well, that's what I said to you. It's
breakfast
all-
programme, isn't it?
It's all new. And what we're going to do is, while we play the next track, we're going to find out.
I half expected this to be disused, when you said there's a canal here, but it's actually in use. So perhaps it goes, I don't know, towards Huddersfield area, maybe, up that way? I don't know.
Nick Benjamin and Andy Waterfield.
So, we've found out a little bit more. We're on our trip.
Go on, tell me
We're
more.
on our journey and we're in Sheffield today. And we found the Sheffield Canal at Victoria Quay. Now, the interesting thing is we knew nothing about it. It was all a bit of a surprise. So we've been doing a little bit of reading up. And this canal was all about connecting up to the Aire Calder, which is a canal further up. And the idea
Leeds way, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Leeds way. And the idea was for bringing in coal and transporting coal in and out of Sheffield. And down there, I don't know if you noticed, there was a building that was right over the canal, and the building's called the Straddle, and apparently it's really well known here because it was an easy way of taking goods off of canal boats.
Oh, that's very clever.
But what they've done is built a little office block over the water, which is quite nice.
Yeah,
so
how lovely.
If we carried on walking up this canal, which we're completely surprised is actually here, it takes us to Meadowhall, a big shopping centre, and then takes us on to Rotherham, and then eventually right through and connects up to the Aire Calder Canal, which is a big
Have you ever been to Meadowhall?
No. Is it not so?
I mean, I'm not I'm sure it's lovely. I'm not a big fan of indoor big shopping centres anyway, but this one I'm really not a big fan of.
It was one of the early ones, wasn't it?
Blimmin' hard work. If shopping for hours on end is your thing, you'll love it. It's great.
So this is actually known as the Sheffield and Tinsley Canal. Because Tinsley is just up the way here, and that's where your first locks are.
Oh, okay.
You like locks, don't you?
Yeah, I think they're really interesting.
And of course, this is where we always have a bit of a nightmare, really, because I love canals, you love railways, and it was your railway coming to Sheffield that did this in, unfortunately, and is often the case.
Well, just over there, I think there is a railway bridge, and I'm sure that's site of the old Sheffield Victoria station, which closed, I think, in the 70s.
Yeah, okay.
But the line still runs through it, and a lot of the brickwork around here looks very old railway station.
It's got that. It certainly has that look about it. Now, if you're a film watcher, the opening sequence of the film, The Full Monty, was filmed around here by this bit of the stretch of the canal.
Of course, that was all set in Sheffield, wasn't it?
Set in this area, so that sort of gives you some idea of where we are.
But this was restored not that long ago, wasn't it?
1994, a lot of it was restored, and apparently we went past a little dry dock just now, and the dry dock was only discovered back in 1994. I didn't even know it was there because it had been all filled in and used as car parking and all that sort of stuff, so it's all been sort of reopened.
Well, it's been done really well, hasn't it?
Which is really nicely done, actually. It does still look historic, which
could do with a coffee shop down here, really. I'd stay here for more
There's
time.
a coffee shop over there and a craft shop as well, but we've come too late, so as usual,
closed.
we've arrived when all the action is finished for the day. But certainly worth a look, and we'll carry on having a mooch around.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
Great here. Really, really interesting, and a real surprise, isn't it? It really is a surprise, and we are moments away from the town centre.
Exactly.
That's the interesting thing.
So we're continuing our visit to Sheffield today, and we've come up to a really interesting part where you sort of feel you could almost get slightly run over by a tram. There's one going by.
Yeah.
Just
you are very close to them. You actually have to cross the tracks as well, but it's all perfectly safe.
Yeah, there's some points, so you can see the points flip because that one's going up to Meadowhall, or the alternative trams go to an area called Park Hill. Do you know anything about Park Hill?
Well, only because I've been here a few times.
Oh, okay.
You see it from the train when you come in. Park Hill is the notorious estate of flats which had a unsavoury reputation for many years, wasn't it?
Well, it started. What used to be here was streets and streets of back-to-back houses, terraced houses, and they decided in the 1950s to pull them down. And so, what we're going to replace it with? They replaced it with those flats that are sort of notorious for being on programmes like The Bill, where there's lots of outdoor walkways, and it became notorious for a sort of a rough area to live. But strangely enough, over a period of time, people grew to love them, and when they wanted to pull them down in the mid-90s, there was such an uproar about it. They've now got grade 2 listed status, and so they've protected, if you like, for years to come, but they've also closed them in a little bit with nice windows and colourful panels and things, so it doesn't look scary. And they've also got, I've just noticed going up in the middle, glass lifts, which they didn't used to have.
Now, I wonder, are they still run by the council, or have they been sold off?
No, I don't know about that.
Because when they do this kind of redevelopment, sometimes it's for the residents who are there, which I think is great. But there is this, and I don't know if it's happened here, there is this tendency to turf everybody out who's still living there, sell it off, and then make it desirable, and that's always a bit of a shame, because it's almost cleansing the area, and that's
true.
Not fair on people who've been there before.
Well, they've been developed by developers called Urban Splash, so I do wonder if it's still partly owned by the council or if it's been outsourced to development.
You can buy, see that there's some...
right, okay.
But I have to say, for the fact they had this awful reputation, I really rather like them.
Really
Look
colourful.
at the staircase, you've got the scenic lift.
Yeah.
And the panels make it look really good, and I suspect they are really big, good quality flats as well, because
you look at
when they were built, they always were.
Look at the block to the right, though. Nothing's happened to that one yet. So it's still in its original form. This actually won in 2013 the Sterling Prize, the Reba Sterling Prize for design.
I'm not surprised.
For the refreshing of them and making them look better.
It's also, I suspect, popular because it is a skip to the tram stop, a further skip to the station, and then that's right in the town centre as well.
Great location. And this is the thing we've discovered when we've been on some of our other travels, including Manchester. Places like Manchester, no one wanted to live in the city centre, and everyone's like, I don't want to live there. It's all tatty and horrible and nasty place to live. And now everyone wants to live in the city centre because you don't have any travelling to go to work. So the people who may have been here for a long time are actually thinking, I'm glad they stuck around.
Yeah, it's the place to be now. It happens all over the place. It's really rather good. One final thing here is if we look the other way, we always pay a nod to our friends in the commercial sector.
Oh, right.
There's Hallam FM radio studios. They've been the commercial radio broadcaster around here since the 70s, I think.
That's right, yeah, one of the original commercial radio stations. And also, what did we walk past as soon as we came out the railway station going to our hotel? BBC Radio Sheffield.
Yes. Very nice studio centre.
Lovely studio centre.
Give us a job.
We're very jealous.
Yes, we are.
Please hold tight. The next stop by request will be City Hall.
Nick Benjamin and Andy Waterfield.
OK, so where are we now? We've been on the move again.
We've come to the Yorkshire-Sculpture-Park.
Which is where?
Just down the road from Wakefield.
Wakefield, right. And Nikki's with us. Hello.
Hello.
This is very bizarre, isn't it, here? Let's look at this one that's behind us. Describe it.
Well, it's kind of like a metal tree, and then at the end of the branches we've got a few toilets on each one, and we've got a sink, we've got a bath, but I'm not really sure about it.
No, I'm not. It's
supposed to be called an alternative perspective.
Right.
Does that do anything for you?
No.
No? Have you not ordered or commissioned one?
No.
It's a little bit brash.
Yeah. Unlike the rest of the park, though, which...
It's amazing,
yes,
isn't
it is, and the views as well. Are you finding, though, that when you read the information panels, you might understand each word, but the sentences aren't actually making much sense? Because I'm finding that. I'm feeling quite stupid a lot of the time.
It's sort of artist speak, is it?
Yeah, and they try and explain what it's all about, and it's... Well, I don't really know. I still don't understand what it means. But does that matter?
The Yorkshire-Sculpture-Park, I don't know how long... Do you know how long it's been here or how long it's been open?
My memory, I can remember coming here about 20 years ago.
Oh, right,
so
okay.
A long time.
For people who have never been here before, it's a fantastic landscape that goes on for miles and miles, but the sculptures are actually all dotted around, and so you're walking along, you end up going through a few trees, and then suddenly there's a Henry Moore sculpture.
It really is a Henry Moore.
Yeah. So it's quite an interesting place, and we're just having a wander around today. It's also worth noting that it's free of charge to come along. All you pay for is your car parking, and that's where they make the money, is on the car park, but it's free to come and visit.
And exit through the gift shop.
Which is what we expect, isn't it? So we're going to have a wander around. We've got some more music coming up.
We're going to try and dodge the rain as well.
Yeah, it's one of those days. It's a bit showery, but it's still worth a visit. So we've spent much of the day wandering around Yorkshire Sculpture Park. Out of breath now because it's a big steep hill to go up. What's been your highlight, Nikki? What do you think?
I don't think I can narrow it down to just one thing.
Go on, have two.
But I think the army that we saw of all of those statues that are completely identical.
About 80 or 85, weren't they?
Yeah, that would be one highlight. And then just think the walking, the fact that you can just get away from people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just like the fact that it's part of a big country park, and you can just walk and walk and walk, and every so often there's something to look at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just like the fact you can do a nice big walk, and you feel like you've had a good, some exercise.
Yeah.
But it's in a really nice location. It's a really nice way of doing it. It doesn't feel like it's being too difficult to do either. It's just a lovely, quiet, peaceful place. Apart from the occasional aeroplane that seems to...
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's okay, isn't it?
And the fact that there's all the animals around.
That's what I was going to say. It's strange. I was going to say one of the things I like about it is the fact there's sheep wandering around. It's quite happy.
Yeah.
And Canada geese sat around.
The swans, lovely.
Yeah, it's all very good. And it all fits in nicely. And when you're just looking around, just as a sort of final summing up, when you're looking around, you've got the countryside, which is beautiful in its own right, lots of trees, but then you just suddenly look over and your eye is caught by sculpture in interesting places. It's definitely worth a visit, isn't it?
It's amazing. And I think another thing that's worth mentioning is how it kind of appeals to all age groups. There's something for everybody here, which is quite unique, really.
It's been a great day out.
And it's free. Yeah. That's the thing. It's, there's not much for free, is there? And this is really good.
Well, our show's for free.
Well, that was a fast train coming through.
It was. Good morning.
We're on our travels again, having a little trip out.
Yeah.
Ecclesbourne-Valley-railway. Right, so this morning, it's a sort of damp morning, isn't it?
It's a very damp morning.
And we've made the trip from Luton to where?
I don't know where it is. I know we're in the Derbyshire area. We went to a place called Duffield.
Duffield, yes.
And we've ended up on the ecclesbourne-valley-railway. It's very nice.
It is, isn't it?
It's very maroon in colour and cream. I think those are the main colours that we can see.
Yeah, it's a special event today. It is their diesel running day. And I think they do a couple of these each year. And it's quite busy, isn't it?
It is, actually. Yeah, I was quite surprised when we got on. We had to take an ordinary, a real-life, modern-day train.
Yeah.
Which looked as though it was heritage anyway.
It was about 150 years old, that train, wasn't it?
It's quite small. And I suppose if people haven't been onto a heritage line before, it's one of those lines where they go backwards and forwards, don't they? But with different trains every time, or different engines. And there's some... very interesting trains to sit on. We had a comfortable journey here. But have you noticed as soon as you sit down on a train these days, there's no comfort at all. But on these heritage ones, you sit down and you sink into luxurious seating.
Yeah, they're proper springy seats, aren't they, in a compartment, whereas now you get on ironing board seats where there's no give whatsoever. And these are much more comfortable, and you can understand why many years ago people would regularly fall asleep on the train, because with the comfortable seat and the rocking motion, it's understandable.
And I don't know if it's because it's in a compartment, but did you notice that there's utter silence?
Oh yeah, there was someone else there. It was like there was no small talk.
When we were talking, we were like this.
Well, it's because he was there first, and I thought, well, I didn't want to come in there and start, hi.
There was no talking at all. It was very silent.
It's almost like this is his space and we must respect it, and I'm sure he wouldn't have minded in the least.
No.
But, so the station's been restored rather nicely. There's been a lot of care and attention paid, as there always is in these places, to make it look as good as they can. And, of course, they have to self-fund everything. So when they get all this going, it's very impressive. And the thing that people forget is you can't just play around with this. They have to run it with the full health and safety of a railway.
Of course, yeah.
And all the restrictions. So it's a huge operation to get it going. Yeah, but there's lots going on. I think I'm going to get some tea now.
I think that's a really good idea.
I think when you go to a heritage railway, people do spend most of the day drinking tea and coffee.
Well, the first thing I said to you when we got on is there any way to have a coffee?
Well, we could have had one on the train. There was a buffet counter.
I feel funny walking up a carriage when it's moving.
Well, what's going to happen?
Well, you could tumble off to your death.
I've never heard such rot in my life.
Let's go and get a cup of tea,
right,
unless you're rot. Hello. 2 coffees, please. One white, one black. Yeah. Thanks very much.
So we are on an old diesel multiple unit.
The DMU.
Yeah. We're in the first class compartment. I hope it's all right.
Well, I hope so, yeah. It doesn't say we can't.
No, I don't think so.
The seats are lovely, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're
so much more comfortable, so much more space than you get on the train now.
It's really nice. Oh, and they have these. You don't have these anymore. These hopper windows that you can open for ventilation. And what it says for draft-free ventilation: open window between these lines.
Yes.
There you go.
Now you've let a fly in.
Oh, it's been there since last winter. Yeah, I like
It's a
this.
lovely old train, isn't it?
It's really nice. What makes the difference between the first class and the rest of it? I'm just looking.
These seats are
Individual
armchairs,
seats.
aren't
They're
they?
like armchairs. Whereas if you sit in the rest of the train, it's all bench
seating.
seats. Yeah. And one of the things that we noticed on the platform is they always find from somewhere these old-fashioned signs from the
I don't know
past.
where these all come from. all the time.
No. There's a Coleman's mustard.
There's always a
There's usually
Coleman's
something for a blue bleach or something,
Yeah.
isn't there? Normally.
Nosegay, that turns up quite a lot.
Well, some cheer, isn't it?
And coal tar soap.
Oh yes, I noticed. I just went and used the facilities. Now the facilities are 21st century, I'm pleased to say, but it was offering, if you wanted to buy carbolic soap for
Really?
for X amount of money. I don't even know what carbolic soap is.
No,
I think
I
it's
don't
really
know.
strong and pungent, isn't it? I didn't want to risk it.
Okay, so here we are with Lee Gratian, who is the commercial manager
yes.
for the Ecclesbourne-Valley-Railway. This is very impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the turnout today. It's always one of those things where you're not sure who's going to come until the day, but the train's quite full and locomotives behaving themselves so far, so yeah, we're all good.
And this is one of your special events, isn't it?
It is. It's the first major one of the season. We do 2 diesel weekends in the season, one in March and one in August. So it's nice to see people waking up from the winter and getting out and about.
And would you say there's quite a growing movement towards diesel? Because I always think that heritage railways are steam focused, but diesel's popular as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you can see from the amount of people that have come today. I think a lot of it's about what you actually remember as a child, the nostalgia factor. So the older generation, not always, but tend to like the steam. But, you know, there's a lot of people in their 40s, 30s that love the diesels, and there is a big following.
Is it mostly older people, your clientele, or does it go across the ages?
Oh, it really varies. We get right from in their 80s right down to those who are, 2 or 3 years old. So, yeah, it's a real mix.
Now, it's not just about singing some trains on the track. There's an awful lot of other restoration work that goes on, isn't there, with the stations and the whole experience. Tell us a bit more about the things that have happened here at the railway.
Well, there's everything from the track that you're going along on with the sleepers and the drainage. There's the coaches that you ride in, so, you know, often they're a wreck and you have to do all the interior and the underneath. And you're right, there's the stations as well. We've just had a new ticket office at Duffield that's been built and refurbished by the volunteers, and at Worksworth as well. So you get the full spectrum of everything on the railway.
So it must be made clear that this is a private enterprise. You are completely reliant on people paying to be on here and from grants and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we get grants. We have a charity that gets grants, but we're also a PLC as well, so you can buy shares. But the large majority of the funds come from the tickets that people buy to ride on the train, and every penny of it goes back into the railway.
And this line, this is celebrating quite a milestone at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, it is 150 years since the line was built, 1867 by the Midland Railway. So we're having a little bit of a celebration this year. It's also 25 years since the company was set up to run the railway. So we thought we'd have a bit of an ease up, if you like, through the year and a few special events and things. And yeah, this is the first one, and we hope everybody enjoys it.
So we've taken the short walk up the hill from the station to Worksworth Village Centre.
It's absolutely how you'd imagine. It's a sort of Peak District village. It's very, very hilly, but it's got those sort of quaint shops that you like the look of. So there's a baker's shop, there's Ken's discount store behind us, which is quite nice.
Lots of stone buildings, isn't it?
Lots of stone buildings. It's really nice. And of course, the obligatory fish and chip shop, which we like. Nice looking pub on the hill, the Hope and Anchor. And just really nice buildings, actually. Yeah. And I hope when people come on the railway that they get off and wander up, because a lot of people, when we go on the heritage railways, go backwards and forwards along the track and don't actually get off and look at the villages on the way. So it's well worth stopping off for.
It is. It's lovely. It is very hilly, though, isn't it? Just here where we are.
It's quite a slope.
We can go up slope, or we can go down slope. It's interesting. Let's walk past the bakery.
Oh, that's real low.
Oh, look. Oh, there's cakes. Oh, that's quite nice, actually.
Finger buns.
Yeah, I do. And there's other things. There's donuts in there as well.
We'll keep walking. That's all I would suggest.
No fun, though, is it? We're now back at Duffield.
We are. We've just got back. And it started to rain, but
Again.
we've come to the end of our day here. It's been quite good, isn't it?
It's been good fun, hasn't it?
Enjoyed it?
It's nice. It's good fun. It's I quite like the fact it's not quite as full on as some of the lines that we've been to, where they're very strict or it's very commercial driven. This is a slightly more relaxed but purposeful feel about it, and I quite like that.
Yeah, it's good. A lot of the other places, there's a lot of hollering about getting on trains and standing back, and everything here is still very safe. But it's a lot less whinging.
You do feel that some of the other ones, they're building their parts somewhat,
yes,
don't you?
exactly. It's a good phrase. Now, we've had a look around. There's also some other places worth mentioning while you're here. They have a little model railway exhibition.
Yeah.
There's a little gift shop to have a look at. So you can buy bits and bobs and old books and things. So that's worth good. And the sales go all towards keeping the railway running, which is a great thing, because it's all run by volunteers and it's a charitable organisation as well.
And it's just paid, all of that is just paid for a new booking office, which has only been open a few months.
You can still smell the paintwork,
at Duffield.
That's
and
right.
That's where you change from the main, normal, regular trains to if you want to visit by train.
Yeah, so it's been very good. It's been very good. We've seen lots of different trains, lots of different carriages we've travelled in.
Yeah.
And I think we'll come again.
I think we will. Let's hope it's not raining next time.
Well, they can't help that, can they?
This is a Two Voices production at 2V Radio on Twitter or twovoices.co.uk.